Good morning. What happened to the summertime? What happened to springtime? I woke up this morning. It's chilly out. It's rainy. I've got to have my heavier pajamas on. Uh, I'm just ready for some warm weather. I'm ready for some heat and some flip flops and for sitting out on the deck. We had one day of that. So I'm just praying that maybe next week the weather loosens up some. I pray you're doing well. Uh, I pray, we're starting to hear rumblings of things starting to open up again slowly. Um, I hear they're going to open up the barber shops and the beauty parlors next week, and maybe the gyms too. I'd like to get back to the gym. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. I want to talk to you this morning about doing the impossible. And this will be short, but I think it's just I think it's something we need to hear right now. So I've got my big red robe tea. I don't know if I've talked to you about this tea before, but it's, Chinese name is Da Hong Pao. It's an oolong, very dark, very rich, kind of expensive, rich in antioxidants. It's a tea that they serve in China to honored guests. So if you were here, I'd be serving some to you. So you're my honored guest. So relax, get something. Let's spend a few minutes in the book of Philippians. The book of Philippians will be in chapter 4. Philippians is all about Paul writing to a congregation that has blessed him. There, as he begins to wrap up the book, he's given them a number of encouragements, a couple of guidelines they could follow. And as he goes towards the end of chapter 4, in verse 8, he says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable. If there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What have you learned and received and heard and seen on me? Practice these things. The God of peace be with you." So he tells them to set their minds on things above. We'll be talking about that maybe this evening again. And then he says this in verse 10. So he wants them to focus on God. He wants them to set their minds on Christ and the good things, the godly things that we're called to exhibit as children of God. And then in verse 10 he says this, "I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but had no opportunity. Now that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned that whatever situation I am to be content." Now this is a bold statement, and it kind of goes hand in hand with setting your mind on things above. He says, whatever situation, I am to be content. I'm supposed to be content in all situations, regardless of what's going on. And so he says, I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound in any and every circumstance. I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger and abundance and need. So Paul says, I have had the gamut of experiences. I've been high and I've been low. And I know I'm supposed to keep my mind on things above. I know you're concerned for me, but I don't want you to be concerned because I have been content in all things. Now, a lot of people would say, well, how could that be? How could you possibly be pleased in all things? And it's almost impossible to go through life without being grieved at times, without being hurt at times, without suffering from trials and hardships. And how can you be content in those things? Well, Paul's not, when he talks about being content, he's not talking about just smiling through everything. He's not talking about pasting a smiley face on every, some vacuous sort of open-eyed blindness in every circumstance. He's talking about accepting every circumstance. He's talking about walking through those circumstances with your mind on things above and a trust in the Lord that helps you get through them. And it's not impossible if you're focused on the Lord. And he kind of says that in verse 13, which I think is one of those verses that are misconstrued and misapplied at all times. He says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And so I've heard this used as motivation talks at halftime for football games, and I've heard it used for people that want to do something that might be impossible for them to do. And, it's almost as if, well, gee, I want to be a pro football player at 68 years old, and nothing's impossible without God. I can do that because I can do all things in God who strengthens me. What Paul is saying is I can endure all things in life, the highs and the lows, the good times and the bad times, the trials and the hardships and the celebrations. I can get through them in a godly fashion because of God who strengthens me. I can get through every situation in my life because God is with me. He is my strength. He is my hope. He has given me eternal eyes to look beyond these. So as we walk through our day with our eyes on God, we can take any unexpected event that happens and keep our perspective, keep an eternal perspective on those things. We can do them because of God in us who strengthens us. May He strengthen you today. May He usher you through your day in joy. And if you encounter any obstacles today, may you get through on His strength. I love you. I miss you. Have a great day.